Welcome back to episode 6 of Details. Today we're going to be talking about everything pregnancy, birth, everything in between. We are here with a very, very special guest, my sister, our first guest on Details. Give us a bit of background.
Hello everyone, my name's Lamise. I'm Nada's older sister. I'm also an osteopath, and I'll be giving my insight on pregnancy, birth and postpartum, and also a little bit of my osteo perspective on the whole thing as well. So yeah.
So you guys probably don't know, Lamise gave birth recently.
About 13 or 14 weeks ago now.
13 weeks ago to the most amazing, cute little girl on the planet.
She is really cute.
All right.
So, just a little background. So, Lamise took a lot of Q&A questions from you guys. So, today we're going to read out those questions and, Lamise is going to address them. So, first question I'll ask is when and how you found out you were pregnant and the first steps you took after that.
Okay, so my pregnancy came as a surprise to me, as you are very well aware. It was like we did want a baby, but the timing of it was a little bit of a surprise. And it was right in the middle of the first really harsh 6-week lockdown in Melbourne. And this was like the first time that we had like the 5-kilometer radius, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so I used to run a lot, and I was running every day. And then I realized like I can't get through like half the distance that I would normally run. And I was like super thirsty. Like I was literally drinking 4 liters of water a day, and I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. And I was still like really, really thirsty.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me just take a pregnancy test. I literally got some dodgy one from like Abu Dhabi or something.
That's like
a Middle Eastern website. It was probably expired. And then like it had the second line, and I was like, nah, it's probably like faulty. Yeah. And then I went and got the expensive ones.
But did you panic though? Like,
no, I didn't, because I was like, nah, there's no way.
This thing's like $2, whatever.
Yeah, literally. I was like, it's probably like, anyway. Took the more expensive ones, and then so it starts to like bleep like pregnant. And then I was like, okay, so it's pregnant now. It'll say like not pregnant the same way.
It's like psych.
Yeah, and then they all kind of go off at the same time. One's like 1 to 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. Like they were like inaccurate about the date, and I was like, nah.
Yeah.
So then I called mum, like freaking, and mum's not answering. So I called another, and I literally remember she's got her phone, like she's on FaceTime like this, and the bookshelf's behind her. Her hair's a mess, and she's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, no, I'm pregnant.
And I'm like, I'm busy. I don't have time for this.
She's like, piss off. Like, I don't have time.
Why are you pranking me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, look. And I flipped the camera, and then she, like, you literally.
I was literally like,
oh, man.
Yeah. And I
ran downstairs. I'm like, Mum. And Mum's like, I'm in a meeting.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, Lamise is pregnant. She's like, okay, guys, I have to go now.
I have to go. Let's wrap it up.
Leaves the meeting, and she's like to me, what do you mean? I'm like, what I just told you.
Yes, I've been married for 3 years, but it was such a surprise. Yeah. Anyway, then right after that, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, do I go to the doctor? Like, what do I do? So I just my doctor was the first person I got in touch with, and she's like, okay, you need to take this supplement, this supplement, this supplement. Let's do some bloods, and let's get you in touch with a hospital. So you need to be referred to a hospital so you can have your modality of care. Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be looked after with the midwife. So that's what I had to do.
Yeah. And not everyone does that?
No, so you have the options to do shared care, which means that you're with your GP basically throughout the entire pregnancy for your checkups, and then you just go give birth in the hospital. You can have obstetrics care, which means that you have a gynecologist. Generally, in Australia, that's more for high-risk pregnancies, or what I did was midwifery care. So every month, I would see a midwife. Yeah. And then, so I had a group of midwives looking after me, and then one of those midwives was at my birth. Wow. So you familiarize yourself with the hospital environment.
And does that cost money?
No, it's all free. I think just you pay for some of the ultrasounds, but that's about it. Yeah, so that you have different options when it comes to the care method that you want when you give birth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Another question about going through all this. Did you feel heard and respected by the medical staff? Was there ever a point where someone in the medical industry said something to you and you were just like,
Yeah, so look, up until I was about 36 weeks, my pregnancy was really uneventful. Like,
didn't feel it.
No, whatever. It was like I had a lot of hiccups at the start with morning sickness and gastro and all that, but
standard.
Whatever. But then up until, kind of push comes to shove and like the baby actually needs to come out, and that's when I started to have some hiccups. So we'll talk a bit more about that in the birth story section. But up until that point, like I had no issues whatsoever. So we were meant to move houses when I was 32 weeks pregnant.
But you can't trust builders. So.
No, so it didn't happen until like 3 days before my due date, but that's anyway. But a month before I was due to give, so I had a really small belly all throughout my whole pregnancy. Like I didn't show until I was 35 weeks. Even then, like it wasn't a huge belly. And then, so when you go to your appointments, they measure from your rib cage to your pubic bone to see how big baby is measuring.
Yeah.
And my belly stopped growing at 35 weeks. Now, these measurements are actually not 100% accurate. Like, there's no science to it. Like, someone can be off by like a centimeter. It's all subjective because it's
very subjective testing.
It's not 100% accurate. So my belly stopped growing at 35 or 36 weeks.
Yeah.
So then this classed me into the high risk category.
Okay.
Right. So once I hit that high risk, I went from the midwifery care to obstetrics care. So I had the gynecologist looking after me. And as soon as he saw me, he's like, oh, yep, induction, 37 weeks induction. And I was like,
hold up, buddy.
Stop. Like, right? So anyway, so I was like, no, I don't want an induction. He's like, all right, well, let's see how you go
And
next
you probably weren't expecting him to say that. You were probably
No, and I was really against getting induced. So I kept putting it off, and he's like,
no, you don't want it. Because you feel like, oh, you don't need it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like anything was wrong.
Yeah.
And then, so we put it off, and then I hit 38 weeks, 39 weeks, same thing. I wasn't, I wasn't getting any bigger.
Yeah.
So then he was like, okay, listen, like he kept pushing me for an induction. And then at this point, you're at the appointments, you're by yourself. So I'm having like these really serious conversations with the gynecologist, and I have no one like to bounce ideas from.
Was that because of the
lockdowns?
Yeah.
And then, so I was like to him, listen, let's wait until I'm 39 and a half weeks, and then I'll reconsider.
And you want to like go back, talk to your husband. Like, it's not like you're going to make a decision.
Yeah, because, and then they're just talking to you, not with you.
Yeah.
So they're just like throwing all these facts at you, and it's like, oh, you can double your risk of a stillbirth and da-da-da-da-da, like all this crazy stuff.
Kind of,
they're just scaring you.
Yeah, scaring you.
And then it was like every like 4 days I would have to go to the hospital, which is all the way like in Heidelberg, which is like almost an hour sometimes.
Yeah.
I would have to go to the hospital. They'd have to do an ultrasound. They'd have to monitor me. I'd be there for like 3 or 4 hours. Like it was a lot.
Like alone as well.
Yeah, alone.
A 5-hour session with the drive.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Takes up the whole day.
Yeah, so then I said to him, listen, can I come in next time with my husband? Like, I feel like I need support.
Yeah, for sure.
They let Bedzard come in, and he was like, listen, like you need, like it just kept pushing me for an induction. And at the time, it felt like the right decision, because I was like, I don't want to put my baby at risk.
Yeah.
Whatever, let's do the induction. And I was kind of hoping that he would push the induction out a week. And he was like, oh, we can do it tomorrow. And I was like, no, maybe not tomorrow. And then I don't know what happened. Like, for whatever reason, they didn't call me the next day. They called me. They told me on a Friday that I'll be getting induced on a Saturday.
Oh my God. That gives you like no time to mentally
Literally.
Yeah,
prepare,
I was like, it was such
oh my God. Like,
You literally just considered getting it, and then he's like, yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, he's like, okay, yeah, fill this form out. It's like literally going in an excursion. Yeah, fill the form out. Okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. We'll book you in tomorrow if there's space.
Man, that's
And I was
stressful.
like,
would you rather though know the exact time that your baby's coming, or would you just rather like one day be like, I'm going into labor?
Look, having experienced I didn't have a negative induction process.
Yeah.
But part of me wishes, and I will say that I tried everything to go into labor.
Yeah.
I was exercising throughout my whole pregnancy. I have a very physically active job. I did acupuncture like every 3 days. The dates, the red raspberry leaf tea, like everything that they tell you to do to induce
doesn't
labor
work.
did not work for me. Like my body would just not go into labor. So
I'm going to keep this baby.
my body just could not do it. So I was
And you were over it. You were just
I was sick of it.
like,
and
just
I was
come out already.
Yeah.
And I was sick of like the unknown. Like I remember being in the hospital on the night of the induction. So once they start the process the day before.
Yeah.
And I would hear babies crying, and I remember just like breaking down and saying, oh my God, I just want to hold her. I just want to hear her cry and know she's okay, because there's so much unknown. Yeah, but at the time that felt like the right decision. So I don't regret it, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, you mentioned that, the reason they wanted to induce you is because your belly was kind of like measuring a bit like the same. It wasn't growing. Do you feel like people, not the medical like sort of field, but other people were like, why is your stomach so small if you're pregnant? And how did you cope with people's comments?
Look, for me, like you'd never comment on someone's body
Yeah.
in a normal situation, right? But as soon as you're pregnant, it's like a free-for-all. Like as soon as you see someone, oh God, you're big, or oh my God, are you sure you're pregnant? And I would like have like people know I was pregnant and ask me how far along I was, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so and so weeks.
Are you sure?
Is your baby measuring okay? Have you checked? Have you done a scan? Are they okay? Why are you like I was wearing normal clothes really up until 32 weeks. Like you couldn't, and everyone and their mother was commenting. Like it was it was really hard, and then it would make me worry. Like, is my baby okay? Like, what's going on? And then
everyone's body just reacts different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Dude, why do people say that? Yeah, like what gives them the right?
Like
seriously,
you wouldn't comment on. Like, you wouldn't look at someone and be like, oh God, you're fat. Oh God, you're bloody stick figure.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you healthy? Have you gotten your blood test? Like, you wouldn't.
I know.
It's not nice.
Yeah,
seriously.
not fun.
Yeah. Not
All right. Let's talk a bit more about the labor itself. How was it in general, and how long were you in labor for?
I was, alhamdulillah, I was very, very fortunate. I had a very good, like, my labor was, I'd say that it was good, but at the time, look, put it this way, I lasted an hour and a half without epidural.
Yeah. That's all. And what was your opinion on epidural before?
Hey, like, as soon as you get that epidural,
is it easier? Yeah,
it's like my whole, I just went
just high. You're just like, oh.
Like my whole body just went numb. And I remember, like, because they give you gas. I love the gas. That shit. So he's like to me, oh, take the gas, like, as he's doing the epidural. And I remember that the contractions were so painful that I couldn't even feel the needle go in.
Wow.
Because I was, and then
it's like, it's a fat needle.
And I was like, I do not remember it at all. Like, I remember though, as soon as he put it in, I was like I remember literally going, like that was,
wow.
Ladies.
So
it's interesting it's interesting to hear, because I feel like a lot of people are not against epidural, but they have like a negative.
Why? Like, guys, let me just say, if you're going into labor, no one is giving you a damn trophy for suffering. Yeah. When I was induced, pretty much within 10 minutes, so my contractions were back to back. So I remember I'd have a contraction, I'd be like, whew, that was over. Yeah. And then by the time I caught that breath, the second contraction came.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes, that was 20 minutes of that, and then they were back to back. So I was having no breaks. So I was like, as soon as one was finished, I'd be like, ow. And I remember like screaming and like, you know, like just
hitting
punching.
Stuff.
Like, the pillow.
That's why you gotta take your husband with you. Just
oh my, and I said to the midwife, I'm like, I want the epidural. She's like, oh honey, you know, you're still
do you want to wait a bit? Yeah.
You're a first time mom, you'll probably be here for 12 hours.
Give me it.
Give me the epidural right now. I don't give a shit. Give it to me right now.
You changed your mind straight away, yeah?
They let you like...
Yeah, oh, this is another cool thing about the epidural. I did not know this. Okay, so you have the epidural, right? So so pretty much it's a catheter in your back, and there's a long straw that keeps like filling the medication, the epidural medication. You have a pen. And you just increase You can top it up.
Oh my God.
So there's a steady
flow. So it's just like, beep,
and let's say I'm like, I can feel a little flick of pain.
Really?
Beep, beep, top it up.
Can that not be safe? Can you overtop?
No, there's a limit.
Okay, there's a cap.
But you can keep topping it up.
Wow.
Just hold on permanently.
Did you have any side effects from it?
I had like a sore back for a few weeks, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Like
that's not too bad.
No, it was amazing. Wow. I loved it. God bless that anesthesiologist.
Walid's got a question for you.
Yeah. Would you recommend having your husband in the delivery room with you?
Look, I love him. He's amazing. But Mum was with me. So when I gave birth, I was very, very lucky that I was allowed 2 people. Mum just knew what to do. Yeah. My contraction.
Well, I mean, she's given birth.
She was honestly a superstar. Like, she knew, okay, contraction's coming on. She would do counter pressure on my sacrum, so putting pressure on my sacrum. You know, I'd have a contraction, she'd like quickly like pinch my traps or give me a back rub or massage my feet. Like, she just, without me saying anything, she knew what I needed. Like, good.
You can do that.
She was a godsend. No, but seriously, like, Mum, like, it's something I will never never forget, and it's an experience that me and her, like, she was amazing. Yeah.
And no one's gonna do it better than your own mum. Yeah. Like really. She was really. And
you know Mum, she's very strong. She's not like someone that chickens out. Like she was my rock in labor. Yeah. Yes, I liked having Bella because it was something we experienced as a family. But if I was being selfish and I was thinking purely of myself, like, I reckon your mum 100 like
helps.
You need your mum. Yeah. Like, even when you think, like, historically, women gave birth in like tents full of other women, their mum, their aunties, their grandma. Like, you need that feminine energy. There's just something about it in that labor room.
Yeah.
Like, Bedard was, like, he was good, but like, I
guess it's more for him to see the birth of his child.
Yeah.
And you know what it is as well? You need someone else in the room that understands what you're going through. Who has done it before. Yeah, like your mum, for example.
Yeah, she was like phenomenal. Like, I can never repay her for how good she was in the room.
Now, I think you sort of were a bit hesitant to tell people that you were induced for a while, right? Can you explain why?
I felt like a failure.
Aww.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't my body doing what it's supposed to do? Like, what is wrong with me? I'm doing everything right. Why is this happening to me? And then it was also like, I felt like I was in competition with the medical staff.
Yeah.
Like, I want to prove them wrong. Like, I want to go into labor. I want to go into labor.
Yeah.
But I was just like, why won't you? And I remember just thinking, like, why can't I do it? Why can't it happen? Like, I've done everything right. Like, I'm walking every day. I'm doing everything. Like, why isn't this happening for me?
Yeah.
So I just felt like a failure. And every time I was like, you know, I think I told my in-laws like the day before, because I was secretly just hoping like that I would still go into labor. So I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone until the last minute. And then eventually I told everyone. And even then people were like, oh, did you try this? Did you try that? And I was just like, I tried everything. Like, give me a break. Like, I had enough at that point.
Let's just get this baby out.
Yeah.
Safely. That's all that.
What happens if you waited longer? You put the baby at risk,
Yeah, so once, I think the statistic is once you hit like 41 or 42 weeks, the chance of stillbirth doubles. So it goes from being 1 in 162 chance, so that's a chance of a stillborn, to 2 in 162. So it doubles.
Wow.
Okay.
And for me at the time, I felt like...
You're not going to risk that.
Yeah, I didn't want to risk it. And it felt like the right decision at the time.
It's time to come out, man. Like,
like eviction notice. Yeah. So at the time, it felt like the right decision.
Fair
All right,
enough.
we've got some post-birth questions for you. How long was your recovery, and when did you feel like you could start doing things on your own again?
Okay, so like I said, I had a really good birth. My birth was quite short. It was done in about 4 hours. And I remember but I forgot to say, I hemorrhaged during labor, which means like you lose 500 mils of blood. And that was really scary, but I didn't realize it at the time. So I remember like I gave birth, and then, the midwife was like, okay, let's get you in the shower. And then I had a shower, whatever. And then she's like to me, can you walk? And I'm like, no, I'm going to pass out. Like and I said to Bed that
it's a lot of blood, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. And I said to Bed that I feel like I'm going to die. Like I'm going to die. Like, something's not right. And then anyway, they put me on a wheelchair. They reeled me up. I tried to get some sleep. Didn't get any sleep. But that like, and I remember leaving my labor, like aside from that, I was like, wow, I had a really good experience. Haha. Because my recovery was...
And then you have people that's like, oh yeah, it's hard to be a woman. It's like...
No, my recovery was, I was in agony. Like I was on bed rest. You guys saw me. For 3 whole weeks. I couldn't sit. I couldn't stand. I couldn't walk. Like even showering, I would cry and scream from pain because I was in so much pain.
I think you're scaring people.
But look, to be honest, I'm not everyone is like that. Like I just had a really bad recovery. Not everyone has experiences.
And it was your first kid as well, right?
First child, yeah. Not like it's like when I speak to other mums and I say, oh, this has happened to me, they're kind of like, oh, that's really weird.
Everyone's experience is different.
It's different.
My recovery was really like that for me. Like I remember just telling Bella, like there's a verse in Surat Maryam, where Surat Maryam's like in transition when she's.
This is like from the Quran.
Yeah, from the Quran. And then I think there was a part where she's saying like I wish I was dead because of how much pain she was in. And I remember during my pregnancy reading that, like listening to that surah a lot, and I said to her that, oh my God, I understand what Sister Maryam, how she felt, because I would rather be dead than experience this. Like I remember that, like,
damn.
Wow, you're definitely scaring people now.
No, but like, look, I think I'm the exception. Not everyone has this. This is, I don't know why. Like even my
put a disclaimer, man.
Like
okay. Let's not scare them for a sec. Was it worth it?
Oh, 100%. Oh, she's
so cute.
There you go, guys. What was the first thing you ate after giving birth?
I wish it was something funny,
like sushi.
No,
or
but
cheese.
it was actually really
Is
sweet.
it just boring?
So when I got back home, I remember Dad coming over. Like he literally came like as soon as I got home. He wanted to come past, and I was like exhausted at this point.
Yeah.
And I was like, Baba, I really want to just stay in bed. Like bring the chairs in and sit with me. And then he came and he got me like he had a fresh roast chicken and chicken soup. Aww. And he just brought it to the room. He's like, here you go, Baba. You know, in Arabic they say when you give birth, like your bones are open. Yeah. So everything they feed you is like really animal-y, like chicken.
They get the...
And he just had like a really nice roast chicken and soup, and it was just what I needed in that moment. Like,
That's
I was like,
nice.
Papa. Yeah, it was really special.
What did you crave during like your pregnancy?
Sushi, oddly enough. I can't eat it.
Huh?
Oh,
yeah.
And ice. Ice was the only thing.
sushi? You can't have cooked.
I think because you can't have cold rice.
Man, that's
Yeah,
tough.
but to be honest, I
Sushi.
hardly craved much. I only like craved ice pretty much and cold water. Yeah, it was really good.
Ice?
Yeah.
Isn't that just frozen water?
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow.
Okay.
Maybe that's why you weren't very big.
Yeah, maybe. What did your pregnancy diet consist of?
Ice
frozen water?
cubes. All right. This question was also sent in. I think everyone's really going to want to know. Is it true that you forget how painful labor was?
I feel like I forgot the contraction pain.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I caved in. I asked for the epidural really early on.
Yeah.
So I did forget that pain, but the recovery pain I'll never forget. At the time, I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember looking up at that thinking, who the hell like willingly does this to themselves? Like, I don't want to do this ever again.
Oh my God.
But now, like, you get through it.
Yeah.
Like your body recovers. Your body was meant to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like if men had to give birth, they just never would. I feel like men are when they're
Our
sick
species would come to an end.
yeah, they'll just complain.
Look,
He doesn't even deny it. He's just laughing. He knows we're right.
Well, like, I can't say anything because, like, I don't know.
The things they have to go through.
I can't put my say in it because I don't know what you went through or what women go
Do you
through.
know what?
Like, I don't know how hard it is,
But there's a lot of men that feel like they
feel
have
like
an opinion.
I feel like men don't have the right to have an opinion because they don't know how it can, like, what you have to go through, basically. Yeah.
And it's not only like the labor and recovery. Like I was saying, I remember I would get so upset. Like people would come over to see Yasmin and they would say things like, oh, she's got cradle cap and oh, she's got baby acne. Have you tried this and this? And it would be like, oh, you're not doing enough.
I know. Or like, didn't people come over and they're like, oh, wake her up so I can see her? It's like
things like that, right? But
my God.
they would
you're the one that
on.
has to suffer.
Serious?
And
like right when she's screaming at night.
Yeah.
But people would always be quick to say, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this for her? And then they'd see her with Bezit and be like, oh, he's such a good dad.
They just expect more out of the mums.
Right,
It's like,
and then
what the
I remember
hell?
telling Beth like, part of me resents you because you became a dad so easily. Like you did, like my career came to a halt. I was in recovery. I was sick for like 6 weeks. I was on bed rest. For 3 weeks. I had to go through pregnancy.
Yeah. And then even now, it's like
my life has changed so much.
I remember someone saying to me once that breastfeeding felt like the most unnatural thing at first. Like
I hated it.
Yeah.
And I remember like mum. Mum said, it's
the most amazing feeling.
I love it. And I remember telling her like 2 weeks, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Not even,
like nothing's working.
Yeah, like 5 days in, I think when my milk came in, I was like, Mum, go get her formula. I'm not breastfeeding. I do not want get her slobbery, gummy mouth away from me. Like I'm not doing it. And then Mum's like, oh, just get through it. And then it does get easier once you hit 2 weeks, and then again once you hit 6 weeks, it's like a big shift. But those first 2 weeks. Not it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Final question. How much does a baby really cost? And we're talking like just like initially, like, the pram and all that, not raising them till 10 years, 15 years.
Bare necessities, car seat, couple hundred.
Yeah.
Pram, minimum $900.
Yeah.
You don't need a nursery for the first year. You can just have a bassinet, and bassinet's like $300. If you really wanted to budget, that's all you needed. Really. And then clothing.
Yeah.
I think all up for the baby, we spent about $5,000.
Okay.
Which I've spoken to other mums.
That's not too bad.
Not
Yeah, I've
bad.
spoken to other mums and they've all said like that's similar to what they've spent. And honestly, if you've got family and they ask you what you want, like just send them a registry. Like have a list of what you want.
Literally,
Yeah.
And then send it to them.
Yeah.
Like
someone was asking,
what was the question?
how to survive the newborn phase?
Sis, when you find out,
Let me know. Let us know.
Yasmin's sleep was really hard. Like I had no idea. Like, can I just say when I first gave birth?
Yeah.
Okay, so I gave birth at night, and then I went up to the. Well, this is another weird thing. When you give birth, you just go by yourself to the hospital room.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Like there's no more midwife, no more like.
No, there's midwives and stuff,
It's
but
like,
no one's with you.
You just went through the trauma of birth and
Yeah, I
everything
remember-
hurts. Here's a baby with a dirty nappy.
Yeah,
Deal
like,
with it.
I remember they set me up, and I was by myself, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I do?
They're like, here's your new life.
It's like you're holding it. You're like, what do I do with
And
it?
then she started crying, and I just looked at her, and I'm like,
What do you want?
What does it need? Yeah.
Ding dong. And I called the midwife. She's like, yes, can I help you? And I'm like, excuse me.
She's crying.
She's crying.
Yeah.
Like, can you do
Is there
something about that?
is there an instruction manual for this?
Like, seriously, and then she kind of looked at me. She's like, yeah, what does she need? And I'm like, Habibi, I met her 2 hours ago.
I met her too. I was like, she's a stranger.
I don't know. And then she was like, oh, okay, let's check her nappy. And so when you first give birth, the first poo that a baby does is black.
Oh.
Because it's been festering in their stomach from when you were pregnant with them.
Yeah.
It's like tar. It's like really thick.
Wow.
And she's like, all right, yeah, she's done a
Nasty.
poo, change her nappy. And I'm like,
You're like, I don't know how to do that.
I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And then I changed her nappy, she's still crying. So I, ding dong, midwife, she's crying. She's like, okay, let's feed her.
I didn't bring food with me.
And then she's like, all right, let's breastfeed. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What's that?
Must be hard.
So it was just like, and then I remember like I was sleeping and I'm like, what if someone kidnaps her? So I was literally sleeping like
And
in the
because she's
bed,
like in a little thing next to you,
and
right?
I'm holding the bassinet and I'm like this.
Oh.
Far out.
Like,
Because you hear all this scary
and
stories.
there's nothing like it's just like a big room with like 3 other beds and there's just curtains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel like when she cries now, you know what she wants?
now finally.
Yeah.
But it took ages. Like I remember every time she'd cry, like people would come over, oh, what does she need? I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, I literally
It's like a multiple choice
just
game.
met her.
Does she
I
need
don't
food?
know.
Does she
It's
need to
just
change her diapers?
Trial and error.
Trial and error.
You
Yeah.
tried the nappy, that didn't work. I'll try this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Far
And you went to a public hospital and that was like your experience. Would you still go to a public hospital
No,
again?
part of me wishes that I went private. Like as a side, look, the birth and stuff is going to be the same whether you go public or private in Australia. The only difference is the aftercare. So me and my Bella were very, very lucky. We got a partner room the second day, which is like a big private room with a queen size bed
Wow.
in the hospital. But I had to keep pestering them. I was like, can I get a partner room? Can I get a partner room? And I kept on nagging.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I needed the support. And thank God on the second night, I got one. Listen, I'm not getting the support I need here. I just want to be home with my mum and my husband. Like things like, oh, I can't sit up to burp her. I'm not going to call the midwife every time I'm going to burp my child. Like
Yeah.
she's, little things like that. So I said to him, I want to go home. So they made me sign a waiver and they were like, all right, go home.
Yeah.
So I went home after, so I went in, I gave birth on Sunday night. I went home Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
a couple of days.
But
2
yeah,
days.
that's why I would go private is because of the aftercare and the fact that you get a partner room.
Was there anything else you wanted to add or let the people know before we wrap things up?
Not really.
I think that was very informative.
Yeah,
so
like,
good.
Honestly, look, one thing I'd say, if you have a screaming baby, this is advice they gave me in the hospital and I loved it because it worked so many times. Like even until now, she's 13 weeks old. If she's ever screaming her head off and I've tried everything and nothing's calming her down, blast the heater up, get a blanket and just do skin to skin with your baby. It literally regulates their system. Like a mother's body will regulate her temperature to warm up or cool down her child.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
your body is literally made to care for this child. So if you like, that's what they told me in hospital. If you're ever in doubt, just do skin to skin, and it's calming both for mum and for baby.
Yeah.
So that's a piece of advice, and just trust yourself. Set boundaries, especially if you're ARAB, because we all know how ARABs are.
Yeah.
Like people will come over like 20 people all in one go and try to see the baby, and sometimes
All
I'd be
have
like,
their hands on the baby, just crowd the baby,
Yeah,
and
scare
it's
the
just
baby.
like pass the
Yeah,
parcel.
I
man.
hated that, and I'd be like, oh yeah, she wants to feed. No, she doesn't want to feed. I just want to get her away.
Just stop
Yeah.
moving her around.
It's a lot. So just set boundaries and don't be ashamed to set boundaries, and just make sure that your husband or your partner or whoever your support person is also in your corner enforcing those boundaries, because sometimes it's really hard, especially culturally to set those boundaries. So just be firm. I don't know how mum did it without anyone.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Would have been hard.
I honestly, if it wasn't for mum, I don't know what would have happened to me.
Well, there you go. Mums
Thanks,
are just...
mum. I love you.
Thanks to all the mums out there. So
For all
Thank
you go through.
This is why
Heaven-
our deen.
Yeah. In Islam,
Under your
heaven lies under the mother's foot.
yes,
And I understand that.
Yeah.
Now.
Not just one foot,
Yeah.
both.
You,
feet,
you
so.
can't go to heaven if your mum's not happy with you. So
Yeah.
thank your mum for bringing you into the world.
Thanks, mama.
And yes, guys. All right. Until next time, episode 7, whatever that is going to be about.
Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Peace out. Nice. That's a wrap.
Cool.
That's really
Yay.
good.
Perfect. The cameras just died, so that worked out.
That was good.